Welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack. I'm your host, IDP Hunter, off the IDP podcast. For those watching us on Spotify, welcome in. Those on YouTube, you're in for a treat. I'm here with special guest tonight, going to be my co-hosts, Kyle Senra. Kyle, I cannot tell you how excited I am to talk about preseason football. I guess you can say we are officially in football shape. We're stretching. We're getting ready for the big games. You can learn a lot from the preseason. What says you, Kyle? You excited for football?
Football is here. I mean, I'm Kyle Senra. I'm Canadian, so football's been here technically since June. I mean, if you count those preseason games, the end of May. But NFL time is here. Fantasy football season, the point scoring season for our fantasy teams. Absolutely great to be here, Steve, and great to be co-hosting along you. Steve and Senra says.
Exactly, and we've known each other a while. We played in a lot of leagues. Tell the audience some of the networks that you're on.
So yeah, for anyone watching on YouTube, I've kind of put them at the bottom of the screen here. But I'm technically with 4 different places right now. So full press coverage. You'll find my rankings there: Dynasty, Redraft, weekly rankings through the season as well. I have a couple podcasts with them: the Full Press Fantasy Pod, Full Press Packers. Right now in the month of August, this is like fantasy draft season. So the Full Press Fantasy Pod, we're going it twice a week. We've been going twice a week for most of the summer. I'll go back to once a week during the regular season, and then also kind of in the off season, through June leading up to we talk about a dynasty then. The heavy redraft stuff is July, August, which is right now. Positional tiers, my touchdown and target share projections. Those have been most of the recent episodes that have taken up the months of June and July, or July and August. So there's that. Full Press Packers Pod. We're going weekly now. We'll go twice a week in season. 1 episode for game previews, 1 episode for game recaps, and then we'll usually go about every 2 weeks in the off season. So,
and then you're on Fantasy Six Pack with us too.
Yeah, so a couple new things. So first off, the League Winners and Fantasy Six Pack, I'm joining both as writers. I'm going to do 1 article each per week. For the League Winners, it's just Packers stuff, so it kind of goes in line with the Full Press Packers Pod things. Just going to talk about the Packers. I think in season it'll be writing game previews. I think I've got 3 articles out right now, just on various different things on the League Winners website.
And then as the audience already knows, IDP Hunter, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Fantasy Six Pack. I'm also on the RPO, IDPCenter. And then I just got another job with FantasyInFrames. I'll be starting with them next week. So me and you, Kyle, we're all over the place. Hopefully you can share your thoughts. I'll share mine. I will tell you this. It used to be week 3 was like the final week of the preseason. But now that they've shortened it, week 2, week 1 is just as important as all of that together. So, you got some teams right now, they took week 1 serious. You got other teams that took week 2 serious. It's kind of a mixed pod, and mixed posh is what I wanted to do with you. I wanted to kind of put some of these names together. Maybe you can tell me how these players profiled to you. A lot of people don't watch the preseason, and I'll argue that because you can tell a lot about what a team is doing, what they're thinking about, what they're sniffing. We and you both do write-ups all the time. Preseason, you can tell how an offensive line gels. You can tell what defensive players, what coverage they're running. I don't think you see a lot of offense. They really don't show their shiny toys as much, but you can see a couple tells.
I mean, especially I think certain team contexts will be important. Does a team have a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator? Are they installing a completely new system? Or are they just tweaking the system they had last year? I feel like the teams that are installing something new, they're probably going to go more detail-oriented, try and really iron that out in the preseason. Whereas the teams, it's the same quarterback, same offensive guy, like the same system as last year. They may not show too much because the new things they're trying, it's brand new, and they really want to save that for when it really matters.
Studs in the preseason. Again, I don't really look at stats per se. I really don't. But when I'm thinking of studs, I'm thinking about stuff that I've watched, and I got 4 offensive guys. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on their profiles. 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, same teams respectively. So I'm going to start with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, he threw a 45-yard deep down the sideline pass, to Rome Odunze. That's what we're expecting this season. It felt really good to see. Maybe I'm just excited about football. Now, he was shaky from time to time, and you could expect the rookies. A little bit inconsistent, but that throw to Rome really woke me up. It's nice to see that in the offseason. And with Rome, when you're looking at Rome, he did pretty darn good in those scramble drills down the field. I think he's more, he's been filling that huge vacancy that the Bears desperately needed. Again, small sample size. I was just excited that he won he won the 50-50 ball on the 45-yard reception. Did show a little bit of his fast feet going out of bounds. But maybe that's exciting for things to come. But yeah, the profile of Williams and Rome, what says you about those two?
So, you talked one word you mentioned that really was going to get me to transition to this was like expectations, right? What are rookie expectations, especially from a first overall pick? And I went back to 2011 and looked at quarterbacks, rookie first round quarterbacks. And in the rookie season, basically the average touchdown rate was about 3.6%. And what I noticed was, the guys that were truly, not always the first overall picks, but like the elite quarterback prospects, they tend to get into the 4% range. I think we can give Caleb that, at least giving him a 4% touchdown rate. So as I mentioned earlier, I've got touchdown and target share projections. And with the Bears and with Caleb Williams, the thing was looking, okay, what do we expect? Again, touchdown rate to be based on what the rookies are. Then also, how many times do we even expect him to pass?
Mm-hmm.
And I figure the way the Bears used him is probably similar to how the Texans used CJ Stroud last year. So I gave Caleb, in my projections, 563 pass attempts at a 4% touchdown rate, which is 23 passing touchdowns. I think that's almost identical to my projection last year for CJ Stroud. And sure enough, Stroud, he missed 2 games, but he ended up throwing 23 touchdowns. So I did actually match. That was one thing in my touchdown projection I matched. Now, obviously, I was projecting Stroud for a full season, not just the 15 games he played. So it's sort of cheating to say I got it right, but I kind of have that in line for Caleb, which would put him as a potential top 20 quarterback, but low end top 20, likely 8,
So
19.
there was another connection, and I know chemistry is important. I wanted to pick your brain on this. The other quarterback wide receiver duo that I thought was really nice that I seen was Drake May and Baker. He threw a 55-yard pass down the field right in the old breadbasket. Perfect. Nice to see from number 3 pick. 55-yard just flicker right down the field. I'm hoping for good things to come. Do you feel strongly about those two, like you did the first two?
So it's really tough to project even any rookies. Like even Caleb was tough to project. But like with May, what's difficult now is it still seems like in spite of this, Jacoby Brissett is still going to be the starter. Now, I would imagine May is going to play a good chunk or the majority of the season. So, I still find he's a tough quarterback to want to invest in him in fantasy redraft specifically. Now, for dynasty purposes, I guess if you look at my rookie dynasty rankings, he would have been in Superflex rookie drafts, I think a top 6 pick. So you got him in, you had to spend a first rounder to get him in rookie drafts. To try and trade for him, it might be cost prohibitive too. So not someone I'm really targeting, even though I think there might be some success there. It's still scary. The thing with both those teams,
such a
haven't
small
really
sample
shown
size, right?
to develop a quarterback. And to be fair to the Patriots, they really haven't had much of a chance. They've had Mac Jones. That's it. Tom Brady was the greatest ever, but other than that, they haven't really had an opportunity because he took so long. With the Bears, we've seen it time and time again fail to develop quarterbacks that are very talented and highly talented.
That's what worries me.
Yeah, that's that one thing that, personally, I've been saying this, call it a hot take, but I've had Jaden Daniels ahead of Caleb Williams in rookie drafts. And I think in my Superflex rookie rankings, you'll see Caleb Williams as 103. Which is a lot lower than most people would have him. So I'm kind of skeptical on both. And the problem with Baker is, it looks like it's an empty wide receiver room because there's no real alpha to take over, but there's just so many guys there that they're all guys that have earned targets through their career. Like looking at the Patriots, I still think Demario Douglas is the Patriots' number 1 wide receiver. I don't know if he's going to massively outproduce many other players on the team, but I think he'll still be the guy that's number 1. And Bourne got a huge target share last year when he was healthy. How healthy is
Right.
he back? We don't know. So it looks like the rookies, both Polk and Baker, are kind of capped at potentially being the team's wide receiver 3 once everyone's healthy and once they're ready to produce that.
It's so hard because I don't want to put a rookie as a stud. And I certainly, like with my IDP, I kind of wanted to save them for our observation category. But I have 2 IDPs in here, and one is a friggin' rookie. So I'm breaking both my rules right now. Week 1 and week 2. Week 2, we seen this rookie Quinion Mitchell, the Eagles. He shut it down, dude. He played 29 snaps. He only allowed 1 catch. I mean, that again, this is the litmus test in the off season. These practice games. Nate Williams looked really darn good for the Eagles. I don't see him losing that spot. I see him as a day 1 starter. And the other guy I thought was a good stud here, Trenton Simpson. We already know with the Ravens, but he had such a small sample size. Week 1, they played the hell out of him. He had 75% snaps. I'm sorry, 75%, which was 83 snaps on 11 tackles and an 8.3 tackle miss rate. So again, there are certain things you can look at in the preseason that are really, really telling what that player is going to be. So like those 2 right there really stick out to me. I'll move on to offensive linemen. There's 2 offensive linemen and they're rookies again. So here I am breaking the rules. Offensive linemen are kind of a tricky batch to kind of predict. But Joe Alt of the Chargers, and then the other guy for the Jets, I'm not pronouncing it, Olu Fashunu. Both of them held their own against tough competition. Bit of a dip on Fashunu, though. You know, he's been having a remarkable preseason between the 2, but Fashunu hasn't gave up a single pressure yet. Alt just seems to be a run grader and a pass blocker. He seems to be the real deal and an excellent pick for the Chargers. But yeah, those 2 guys stood out to me. Any thoughts on those guys' profiles? Did you study offensive linemen? I know you like talking offensive linemen, so I kind of threw them in here in this pod.
Well, I like talking offensive line stats. I'm not sure it's the individual linemen per se, outside of the ones that I'm very familiar with. But do either Fashanu or Alt project to play left tackle this year? I imagine Alt no, with Garishal already on the Chargers line, looking like he's got that left tackle spot locked down. So I'd imagine Alt is the right tackle. Is Fashanu like viewed as the left tackle for the Jets just because they don't really have that elite offensive lineman?
And that's what I see. I don't really know. So I kind of just want to like put it out there. I figure if they can produce day 1, they're gonna be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking up Jets transactions. They did sign Tyron Smith, former Cowboys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I imagine the thought is Fashanu probably starts on the right side. Actually, they have him right now as a backup. But if he does start, it might be on the right side, and then like once Tyron Smith is gone, that's when you move him to the left side. So I feel like both rookies will at least, they might be thrown out there as starters, but neither will probably play on the quarterback's blind side, which could help them not look as bad. Like, when they allow pressure, the quarterback can see it and maybe avoid sacks more than when you allow a quick pressure on the blind side. That's typically where the big sacks comes, and the dangerous ones where the quarterback's not expecting it, not securing the football, those turnovers potentially.
You know what's funny? You were talking about offensive line in units, and that's where I want to go next. When I think of duds, I'm thinking of the Browns' offensive line right now, particularly
the Browns. Thinking of duds, it's a natural thought.
Yeah. So right now the Browns, they lost their left tackle in Jedrick Willis. Then they lost their backup tackle. Then they have the backup center, Luke Whipple. He's hurt, right? And then their right tackle, Jack Conklin, he's still on the PUP. So if you put it together,
early last season,
yeah. So if you put it together, they're on their 4th or 5th tackle right now. Not to mention Chubb being hurt. That's scary. They're going to have to reach out on the free agent waiver wire. They're going to have to figure something out. There's no way you can start the season missing both your tackles.
Because I think the thought is, okay, Watson seems like he's now healthy. You want to protect him and keep him that way, and a backup offensive lineman isn't necessarily the best way to ensure that Watson is healthy as possible.
I was going to pick your brain on this IDP here. Frankie Lavu, he was a popular pickup for the Washington Commanders. Okay,
I think he was on my zombie league roster when I won the league a couple years ago.
that's funny. And now he only got 4 snaps. This is such a small sample size. Week 1, he blitzed 75% of the time. So I'm thinking he's going to be in that. He's going to be in that Parsons role, right? But then I'm also thinking. See, I keep going back and forth with this. I'm also thinking if he's going to be the one blitzing all the time, he's probably not going to get that high-end tackle floor that I'm used to.
True, because he was more of a tackler with the Browns. I mean, they had with the Panthers because they had a guy like Derek Brown who would be like that more designated pass rusher and allow Luvu to be a true linebacker. I guess now they almost want to play him like the Packers play some of their linebackers as extensions of the defensive line more than anything.
And that's what I'm kind of worried about with him because I'm looking at it. I might go both ways. But see, like IDP, I'm checking snaps, I'm checking tackles. It goes against what I'm doing. So
isn't that also kind of naturally like you're always worried about IDP guys going to a new team just because like, okay, we've seen them produce, especially if they're really productive on one team in a role. What do they have that exact same role in this new team? It's always a bit of, if you're stuck between two guys, you'd rather just stick with the guy who's on the same team he was last year because you have more of an expectation of what his role is going to be.
I'm going to give you one more dud because, I mean, it's the preseason. Who knows? But that giant safety room, everyone's hot with the rookie Nubin.
Give him here. We'll take Xavier McKinney from you, Giants. Yeah, go Packers. Love that. Sorry, Giants.
It's been week 2 didn't really help clear this out either. It's been a rotation with those guys. It's been Pennick, Nubin, Belton. They've both been playing in and out. So it's going to be close. I don't want nothing to do with it. I want my defensive backs to have 90% of snaps. I don't want that. And I want my defensive linemen to have 60% rotation. Here's a spicy take. This shouldn't be a dud, but I'm going to put it in here anyway. When I've watched the Saints, that Saint rotation, Granderson's getting 33%. Jordan's getting 33%. Out of nowhere, Chase Young appears with 20%. 33, 33, 20. It's a natural rotation. Who's the odd man out there? I don't know, but Granderson being like a DL3, I'm out on him too. I don't want nothing to do with it if they're going to have quality rotation because that's what Granderson was last year. He was a tackler. He was a snap guy. So, again, nothing against these players, but, they're on the downward trend of snaps. If this continues, if that's the way the rotation is going to go this year, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Well, that's a fair point to be hesitant there. I guess, same defensive coordinator with Dennis Allen, but he's on, like, it's his defense. But it seems like he's a coach that's almost immediately on the hot seat. Like if the Saints don't get to a good start, like he could be someone that we see maybe get fired midseason. So does that also change the defense and again expectations? If there is like some uncertainty, we really don't know how that's going to affect players in a positive or negative manner. So very risky room, I suppose.
I got several observations here, and some of them just may be conspiracy theories. They just might be. It's an IDP show. I'm going to throw this out here. I'm going to start with the Bills. I'm going to start with a bang with you, okay? We know Matt Milano got hurt. We know Bernard is, that's their everything. They're saving him. Everyone's talking Dorian Williams. What if I told you, Kyle, week 2, there was a rookie linebacker that no one even heard of. He's an undrafted rookie linebacker. This is the time of year where that stuff happens. Hello, Ivan Pace. This rookie linebacker comes out of nowhere. He gets all the snaps. He wears the green dot while Dorian continues to be the LB2. I'm going to tell you this name, and here's what's funny. He is not on MFL right now. You can't even pick him up. Sleeper just added him today. So, again, this could be completely crazy, or this could be the next big thing. The guy's name is Joe Andreessen. I spell it Andreessen. You're welcome, those that have a taxi squad. It may be something, it may be nothing, but it's just a great observation that we get this time of year.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, looking at our lads, they've still got him as like a fourth string weak side linebacker. So
and it's how numbers you can argue either way. You can be like, well, maybe because Dorian Williams is DLB2, we're going to keep him here. We're just going to grind this guy out. You just never know. He's probably just a cast off, but it's still fun to talk about. You know what I mean? Just following the tea leaves. And this next one with the Eagles, this is a perfect tea leaf. And I'm going to go on with this, okay? With the Eagles, Zach Bond and Devin White. They have practiced and started team 1 rep drills 13 of the 14 practices. Okay. But White being the LB1, Zach Bond being the LB2. Most people know who Zach Bond is. He's buried on waiver wires right now because he played inside with the Saints. He's going to be an OLD in this system. But plenty of mixing it up and mixing up packages. Nakobe Dean's not dead. He's still around. But Bond has been getting the same snaps as Devin White. Again, the difference is his ADP's buried. When you pull the snaps out, it looks like White 1, Bond 2. Nakobe Dean, this is interesting, kind of like a soap opera as the world turns. Nakobe Dean is playing with the backups. He has graded the highest out of all the defenders, the Eagles, with a 91.6 defensive grade. I don't know how to interpret that, Kyle. I guess that tells me he's not dead for Dynasty. He still has potential. But at the end of the day, he's still playing with the backups. So I got it Bond 2 right now. So those looking for an LB2, that's your guy.
Do you think the Eagles are going to play a 3-4 base this year, which would allow them to put 4 linebackers on, and maybe that's how they get both Bond and Nakobe Dean on the field?
See, the thing is, though, they have such a good defensive line. Like, that bailed them out so much last year, and they got a quality rotation. So if they do a 3-4, they're really screwing the guys on up front that they have. So I don't really know. I don't think the answer is put more, because linebacker is actually not just linebacker. The back 7 is their problem. So I don't think putting more guys out there would help them, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's fair. They want to stick to that 4-3 that they transitioned 2 years ago. Okay.
Here's a sweet one that everybody's kind of interested in. I'm going to go to the Commanders. Jeremy Chin was everybody's darling. What year was that? 2020, I think.
Oh, 21. Right? Man, I was drafting him so high too. Oh, he's a DB with LB eligibility. That's great. And then you get there and it's like, man, I just filled my team full of linebackers. So he's always just going to be a defensive back anyway. Like, I've never put him in the linebacker spot. I would want to put a linebacker in the DB spot. So I realize he's got position versatility, but it's like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, this is why we lift the heavyweights in the preseason. This is why we watch. That year, 2021, he played kind of like that box linebacker role, and he gobbled all those tackles up. Then the last 2 seasons, they put him more out like free, and he didn't do well, did he? So all eyes that game are on Chin, and I kind of wanted to see how Dan Quinn and them were going to line him up. So here's the numbers, okay? He played 3 snaps in the slot. He played 3 snaps at free safety. He played 3 snaps at defensive line. He played 12. He played 12 of those snaps. 12 out of 21 snaps for 57.1% of his snaps in the box, my friend. So, translation, what I'm trying to say to the audience, Jeremy Chin is back. Go ahead and get yourself 2021 Jeremy Chin, my friends. That should be a good little pick right there. That's how they're going to play him.
Looking at how our lads have it, they have him as the strong safety with Quan Martin as the free safety.
And that's exactly how he's playing it. So I'm kind of interested in him. I'll do another one with you. We're talking about how duds and how volatile safeties are. Remember Jalen Petrie? Here's another one for you.
Texans, right?
Old Jalen Petrie, man. What? He was good in 2023. So much so, was it 2022? So much so that everyone the next year drafted him as a high DB1, and he just bombed. What was the difference? You know, playing that safety spot, they had bad linebackers the first year. Next year, they had good linebackers. They soaked it up.
The D'Amico Ryan defense, right? The transition of a new defensive coordinator came in, and even though guys were in the same spots, the way the defense lined up. So it's one of those things where change is not usually a good thing, especially if you have if you're awful one year, you love change because it's like that's the hope they have to do better. But if you have a great season and there's change, it's always really hesitant with the idea.
Now the fun thing about numbers, you can bend them how you want. You can read this stat 2 ways, okay, with the Texans, okay? Jalen Petrie, 6 snaps in the box, 26%, okay? 2, defensive line, 8.7. Free safety, 4, 17.4. 11 in the slot, that's 47.8% of the time. Looks like he's getting work in the slot this year, right? If that pans out, slot corner nowadays, that slot role is very, very historically good, especially on this team when it comes to tackling. Now, there's 2 ways you can look at this. That checks out to me because I know Rookie Bullocks, who I profiled, He's more of a zone free safety kind of player, which would move around Petrie. But then again, I look at it too. They got a guy named Desmond King. They got another rookie that they brought in, Lassiter, that can play that slot too. So maybe they're just moving guys around and seeing. But that's what I seen with my own eyes. I think I'm back in on Petrie and Chin, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes sense. The rebound, and I'm guessing because of the lack of success last couple seasons, they might be lower in draft. Certainly, like I remember that 1 year with Chin, it was a salary cap contract league, and I spent way too much money on Chin. It was like, oh man, Chin is like my 4th most expensive player. I spent more on Chin that year than I did on Tom Brady. Huh.
Oh jeez.
Probably really overspent just to get that double eligibility for no reason. It was great.
That's funny.
But I'm pretty sure that was my first year doing IDP, so I learned a lot. Let's say.
I don't chase the eligibilities, to be honest. Like if I get them, cool. But most of the time, depending on your scoring, I'm gonna play that person in DL. You know what I mean, or linebacker.
That's really what you want is like the D. I find I just naturally go for the DLs with dual eligibility because they tend to be the outside guys, whereas the inside guys that aren't getting a ton of sacks and maybe can get some tackles, but not consistently. Like those pure D tackles, like you rarely want them. You just want the edge rushers.
2 observations, AFC West, the Chargers and Raiders. When I looked at the Chargers, it's kind of playing out how we thought. Perryman's got the green dot. He's played 100% of the snaps that he was in with the green dot week 2. Okay. He's your safest bet at linebacker. Henley's getting mixed in there. So I think Henley's your LB2. Colston's out with some kind of injury to his appendix. So he's probably going to have to catch up. He's going to need a little more time to catch up. So that's how I think I have it. A lot of people were shying away from this backfield. I'm not. I think it's Perryman 1, Henley 2, Colston 3. The Raiders are more telling. Spillane 1, Divine 2. Everyone else is behind. But when you looked at week 2 and you look at those stats, Spillane's the main guy. He's the alpha. He's the 100% go-getter, right? Divine is right behind him, but they took him out on both. There was 2 of them, third down plays. So Divine's probably projected to get about 75-80% of snaps, which is okay with me. I just found that interesting. To your point, you were talking about hybrids earlier. We used to chase Divine Diablo because he was a linebacker / DB role. And he would always be in on third. This new regime looks like they're taking him out.
Okay. And he's the opposite, right? He is technically a linebacker that you can play as defensive back, right? So that would be the eligibility you would like because that just allows you to play extra linebackers on the field. Like you always want to play him there, whereas Chin's the opposite.
They took him out.
Okay, but yeah.
Yeah, they took it out years ago. It used to be like 2-3 years ago, they took it out. But I think that, he's just a linebacker now, unfortunately. Speaking of linebackers, I got a couple guys here I like. I like Isaiah McDuffie of the Packers.
Yeah.
I've tweeted before to people. I love Isaiah McDuffie. Just because of what he brings to the table. The coach has a pedigree with him in his college days. He made him an all-pack superstar. But Isaiah McDuffie played 24 snaps, didn't miss a tackle, healthy 12.4 tackle rate. Kyle, you know how it is with these rookies, man. Actually, the last rookie I think that actually started and was very successful, because usually linebackers take a little bit of time, was Quay Walker. So if anybody's going to do it, this team will do it.
And he still had his struggles year 1. Like he played a lot, but like there were still some like especially in that rookie season, some moments that weren't so great. Like you saw the talent and the speed and the sideline, and now it looks like McDuffie. I can see because they drafted Edrin Cooper, but he's also been injured. So depending on when he comes back, is he going to be
So
I'm not hearing that he's necessarily going to be back for the 3rd preseason week either. So they may want to say like once he's back, we want to take it slow with him. So Isaiah McDuffie could be a starter.
I think he is. I think he's this is just my mind in the preseason observations. I think he's the 2, just based on what I've seen. And then little fun nugget for you here. The new defensive coordinator, what's his name? Jeff, I think it is. You know this team better than me. He's transitioning. He's making that team into but he had He had McDuffie in college for one season at Boston College. They actually ranked fifth in the nation with 107 tackles, second all team. He was an all ACC honor. That's what it was. And not to mention during that national televised game, I think it was against Notre Dame. McDuffie had 16 tackles. So McDuffie has not yet shined. Maybe this is the preseason rolling the red carpet out to see who this guy is. So again, we're throwing a lot of observation episode.
Yeah, I remember after the draft, like Cooper was viewed as, okay, he's probably going to start right away. But yeah, looking like McDuffie's not just going to easily cede the role. So it might be something where Cooper eats into his snaps, and as the season goes on late in the year, he might be starting. But certainly if you want to get some early season pickup at a linebacker that's getting snaps and potentially getting tackles, McDuffie might fit for that. And then it's someone that you're playing early on, but then eventually you're going to have to find a replacement. You're going to have to find some way to find that production. But that's why you're constantly working. You're constantly hunting the IDP players, right, Steve?
Right. With Minnesota, I didn't really have any deep dives. Like I've been kind of shooting this podcast. It's kind of the studs there. Dallas Turner, 2 pressures, sack, 13% win rate. We know who he is. Ivan Pace, 26% tackle rate, 19% of snaps. We know who he is. Blake Cashman, down with a finger surgery, but still, before that, 14% tackle rate, 14 snaps. Okay, so those are going to be your big 3 right there. They're going to be producing all year. I see a space where all 3 of those linebackers have a role. So that's kind of exciting to see. Not exciting for you to see being a Packers fan.
Well, for some reason, Minnesota's not really the team I'm so worried about in the NFC North as a Packers fan.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit proved last year that we need to respect them as that team. That's definitely the threat. So,
oh jeez. Dallas is playing a youth movement right now. They got a rookie offensive lineman, Tyler Gate. I guess he's okay. It's because of injury. They got this guy, Cooper Beebe. He's like a rookie guard center. He's playing up. They're playing rookies up front. That could be dangerous. I haven't seen anything bad. I see it okay. So I didn't put that as like a dud or just an observation. And then the rookie edge, Marshawn Nealon, strong run grade so far. So that could be something good. That could be something we see upcoming. But again, Dallas Cowboys, they're in transition with their money situation. They're in cap hell, if you will. They're going to play their rookies this year. You got guys on the offensive side too, like Ryan Florney. They're all going to have roles. So this draft class is going to make or break them.
Tolbert's still on a rookie contract too. He's probably going to play significant snaps. Whether Tim or Florney is that wide receiver 3, that's a good point.
And then another deep one, maybe Ojabo, the Ravens. I meant to say this earlier. He had a season-ending injury. This is probably his last run. He looked pretty good too. So we're going to see what they get. This is his last chance on his rookie contract to see what he gets there with the Ravens. But those are kind of my observation pieces. Those are the things I've been looking at. There's a lot to take in there. If we're right on the majority of these, smart Dynasty managers, even redrafts, they're going to have a fun season.
Oh, it's always a fun season with fantasy football. Can't wait.
But yeah, that's those are the trends that I kind of seen. I don't have too many more because, again, you can read the tea leaves the wrong way, but I feel strongly about the Chins. I feel strongly about the Zach Bonds. And I like Isaiah McDuffie. Regards to, I guess, our final category, Dynasty buys, waiver wire pickups, is there anything out there, even outside the preseason, is there anything out you're looking at, you're scheming your friends in your leagues about? Is there anything that you're looking at now? Like for me, I think I'm going after Chin now that I've seen it. And I think I'm going after some injured players, like the Braylon Trice, the Falcons. He's injured. Okay, I can scoop him up for nothing, maybe play him next year. You know what I mean? So is there any players out there that you're looking at?
Well, I would say, like you said, outside the preseason, this has been something I've been on people all year, but this is my first official episode co-hosting on the Fantasy Six Pack, so I'll share it here. But
okay.
I've been saying on the Full Press Fantasy Pod all off season, go buy Jalen Hurts. There's this fear that the short yardage offense won't work anymore because this all-pro center who is known for his like outside mobility, tackles on the second level, and like how smart he is with pass protection. Everyone seems worried that the short yardage, just dive forward for 1 yard, is like that's the part that really hurts. And I kind of I snicker a little because, like, to me, there's other things I think that Jason Kelsey's absence will hurt. I think it might, like Barkley on some of the long runs that he's typically had, that might not be so present because he's that all pro center isn't out there on the second level getting as far up the field making those blocks. With the pass protection stuff, I wonder if that Hurts takes more sacks.
Yeah.
Hurts than as a passer. But I think the success they had with the tush push of brotherly shove or whatever you want to call it, like no plays in football, no plays in football get 90% efficiency, and yet it does. So it's this, and other teams try it and they just can't do it. So if they've got this like secret weapon that the league still hasn't outlawed, they're still allowed to run it. I just don't see how they don't go back to it. And Hurts doesn't have another season of double-digit rushing touchdowns, and he gets you this just like weekly ceiling that is as high as any quarterback. So I still value him as a top 3 dynasty quarterback. He's number 2 in my rankings, and he was number 1 at parts of the offseason as well. I've bought him in a couple dynasty leagues. One is a complicated trade in a simple league. The other one's a simple trade in a complicated league. So I don't know if you want me to go into detail on either of those, but I think from a dynasty trade perspective in your super flex leagues, if you're trying to buy a quarterback, the first thing I'm going to do is seeing if there's a dip in Hurts price this year. It's not going to be cheap, but last year you couldn't even get Hurts. Like the production he was giving coming off that 2022 season, there's no way he was even attainable. Like managers weren't even entertaining trades, and now I've been able to again buy 2 different shares of him in pretty important
buying on the low.
Yeah, again, it's not even really buying on the low; it's just buying because it's not the dip in price. It's just now that he isn't viewed as valuable, I'm actually willing to make the trade. So you still got to pay up, but again, last year you could have paid up like a ridiculous offer. People would have just no, I have no interest in trading Hurts. Now it's just he's available, so go buy him just because if he comes back with another 10 rushing touchdown season and the passing's great, next year he goes back to he's unobtainable again. Doesn't matter what you're paying, you're not getting him. This might be the one chance if he continues a very long, productive fantasy career for the next 5-6 seasons. This could be viewed as the 1 year where you could have gone out and actually bought him. You still got to pay up. I view him as a top 3 quarterback. You're paying top 3 quarterback prices, but again, like for a lot of those top 5 quarterbacks, just getting in the door to get the other manager to want to trade them is the difficult thing. Not even finding what the right value is.
Yeah, and I don't really have much dynasty buys because I run my IDPs like a skeleton crew. Oh, you didn't make a play, you're fired. Oh, I drop you. I stream defensive backs like a champ. People are gonna hate me for saying this because I just abuse defensive backs, and I've already talked Petrie, I've already talked Chin this podcast. I'm gonna throw one more. The Falcons, Helm got hurt. So, Bates did great last year. I see a little bit of just a little bit of regression because he does a lot of that way behind as a free. He gets a lot of impact plays, whatever. They're going to need somebody closer to the box to make plays. They just signed Justin Simmons from the Broncos. He's a free agent. He's right there.
Yeah, so the Falcons made a few moves this just recently. So
a lot of they're all in with the Jude, and they look kind of good actually, but if the defense holds up. So I'm looking around my waivers and seeing if Justin Simmons is out there. I already gave you names with Bond. I know Bond's out there. I know McDuffie's usually out there, but look for Justin Simmons. And while I'm on it, Blackman of the Colts for some reason gets no respect. He's buried. You can get him so late in drafts. All he does is produce. He's not a natural athlete, but just in that scheme, he sits in the box and he gobbles up tackles. But those are my only 2. Do you have any other guys?
Yeah, so I have 4 buys.
Okay.
I'm thinking like deep dynasty rosters where they're it's very slim pickings on the waiver wire, but I've managed to actually buy all of these guys in waivers in a couple dynasty leagues. So 2 are based on preseason usage, both running backs that could potentially be the backup running backs on their team, maybe even. One guy I talked about even as a starter. I'm not really sure there, but Deneric Prince from the Kansas City Chiefs and Royce Freeman from the Dallas Cowboys. I think they both look like they're cementing their least as top 3 backs, making those final teams and potentially active every game. So there could be some opportunities if running back depth is something we never seem to have enough of. So in theory, 2 really good offenses that could score a lot of points. I think we're a little bit safer to assume that with the Chiefs, but I still think the Cowboys are going to be a strong offense. So Deneric Prince, Royce Freeman is running back pickups. I've got 2 wide receivers, and they're also tied to the new rules. These are both guys with return upside too. So you have leagues with returning points, return yard points. There might be a role for both Ray McLeod of the Falcons, and actually both these players really have like recent news that's propping them up. For Ray McLeod, it's the injury to Rondale Moore. That's kind of left a door open for who's going to be the wide receiver 3. Rondale Moore gets hurt, and Austin Mack gets cut and is now playing with the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL. I thought he was someone that could contribute, the former Ohio State receiver. So 2 guys kind of cleared the path. Ray McLeod looks like he's almost the favorite to be the wide receiver 3 on the team, unless the rookie Jalen McMillan.
These are all over the place with stuff. To your point.
So I could see Ray McLeod actually being a guy worth picking up and having somewhat of a role this year. The other one, and I think we know Ray McLeod. That's maybe a more known name. I'm going really deep with this one here, Steve. You might let me know if you've heard of this guy, Tyreek McAllister.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've heard his name.
Okay, so he's officially a wide receiver with the Raiders, which I find hilarious. I think his role is really tied to being a returner potentially. That's one of the things that he excelled at last year in the CFL, where he was actually a running back for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now he was just their primary punt returner, kick returner. He was actually pretty good at it. He was, really helped the special teams. The special teams last year for the Ticats were great. Great kicking game. He was great in the return game, and looks like the Raiders might have him as a returner. But with Michael Gallup's retirement, I think I projected him for about 10% of the targets, maybe even a little more than that. You take all that away, like who's the wide receiver 3 on the Raiders? It might be McAllister. It might be Jalen Guyton. I think the likeliest case is probably the rookie from last year, the second-year player Trey Tucker. I think he probably would be the best bet to be number 3 on the as the wide receiver. But I think McAllister could certainly have a role on this team. So he's someone that I think you can get in almost every dynasty league. And I'm in some leagues that are, again, super deep, where he is like the best player available in recent pickups. 16-team, 30-man roster leagues. Like, okay, yeah, Tyreek McAllister, that's about as good as you can hope for. So that would be like, for that crowd of people, like Tyreek McAllister, I think he's got a viable role. And again, if the return yardages do get inflated and you're in leagues where that's scoring, he might be worth it to pick up now. You can get him for, again, $0 or $1 fab while no one knows it. And if you wait in season for him to make a big return, you're suddenly having to compete with people for a higher price.
Nice. I like that one. Yeah, that's a deep one. I don't know, just transition for you. I don't know if you've given any thought of this new kickoff rule. I'm still trying to study it. I don't know how it's going to affect my leagues or not. Any thoughts on that?
No.
Me neither.
Because one thing I noticed, like even just watching the Packers preseason games, like they were not afraid to just kick the ball into the end zone, and maybe that's just because they. And
that's what I thought was going to happen, but
so there's a chance that because I've also heard this, if early on the season like returns start happening, teams are just going to then kick it in the end zone, go for a touchback, and then not even risk it. So I think that's still a possibility. So I don't want to like fully overreact and like just so okay, the Scott Fish Bowl where the return yardages are insane. It's 0.2 points per yard for kick and punt return. That's a league where I'm gonna go crazy and like every receiver I draft is either going to be so far below ADP that they're just a steal. I got like T. Higgins and Tyler Lockett. So like T. Higgins is like a 9th round pick in my Scott Fish Bowl league. Like so at that point, okay, if he's going this late, I'll take him. And I think Tyler Lockett was the same thing. But other than that, you look at all of my wide receivers, they all are guys that are like have that return potential, either listed as the starter or backup kick returner or punt returner on our lads. So I really tailored that league to it because the scoring dictates it. But for most leagues, most dynasty leagues I've seen, I'm going to let the season play out and show me some results. Because the other thing too is, I think it was Dwayne McFarland was saying, every rule change the NFL makes is for scoring. Like that's all they do is for points. So if the kick returns, like these new rules allow for better field position and more points, they'll keep it long term. But if it doesn't yield that, they might just go back to the way it was before. So I would imagine it probably does have an impact and they're going to keep it going forward, but we still don't know for sure. So I'm not going to overreact to something that I don't necessarily have a ton of data on.
Right. I was going to talk to you about this too, Kyle. We got a sponsor, Smashed Up Sports. I don't know if you've ever heard of those guys, but Smashed Up Sports, they're an innovative fantasy platform. If you're looking for next level, like fantasy football, or just add a little twist, they got a lot of different styles. They got like DFS style leagues. They got different elements you can do. They got these little smash cards. I don't know. Have you seen those yet? Little smash cards. Kind of funny. Different way to play. They have a long season long kind of league driven. You can go single player mode. You can play with multiple people. You can join leagues free right now on this site, and it's 100% free. And they have cash prizes up to 100%. I'm sorry, cash prizes up to 100%, but they have a $2,000 bonus. So again, it's free with the chance to get up to $2,000 back in bonuses. Might be something interesting to check out there. And if you don't like that, guys, you can always go over on TheIDPCenter.com. TheIDPCenter.com has leagues all the time that are free. They don't have prizes like that for $2,000. They certainly don't, but they have like best balls. They have money leagues. They have this. That one's starting to grow. This league here. I don't know if you've been on the IDP Center, Kyle, but let me just show you the screen real quick. They got innovative trade calculators. They have leagues. They have recent articles.
No more TJ Watt is the same price as Justin Jefferson.
You love that. You love hearing that. Yeah, they have all of this great resources. So those are the two sponsors, if you will, right now that we're talking about. Kind of exciting times. I remember when, you get on Yahoo, you talk to a bunch of people you don't know. Well, I don't do that anymore. I have Discords. I have chats. I have people like you, my friend, all in Canada coming out. We're putting together these great, fun podcasts. Did you have any more guys? Is there anything else that you want? Any thoughts? Any closing thoughts on the preseason?
No, I think we've given people a ton here. We're over 45 minutes, so a lot of information for just like you call it, the dry run episode of this new series. I don't know if we really have a name for it yet. I guess that's part of figuring it out. I like the alliteration, so I say Steve and Senra say, but we'll see what people say about that. But yeah, looking forward to recording this probably. Definitely once a week during the season, probably Tuesdays. Episodes will be seen Thursdays, I think, is what we arranged. So looking forward to this partnership with you, Steve. I think it's great. I've had fun guesting on your shows in the past and have fun recording this episode to start.
It always works out. And I tell everybody, if they keep listening, we'll keep recording. You keep watching them. We'll keep playing them. Just want to thank our audience. Kyle, tell everybody for the last time where they can find you.
Yeah, so 4 different sites. Full press coverage, going for 2, fantasy 6-pack, and the league winners. So league winners and 6-pack, it's just writing, but I'll be doing some audio and visual stuff with going for 2 live and full press coverage. Got the full press fantasy pod, full press Packers pod. With going for 2 live, I will be doing the pregame shows on Monday, which I've been doing for the last 4 seasons now. So get to rejoin Gladys and Dan. Gladys L. Tyler and Dan the B League Says. They're absolutely phenomenal. Love co-hosting with them. But I'll be joining Jamie Brogue, who I know you know well, on the Sunday morning streams for Going for 2 Live. So that'll be a new journey for me, joining a team on Sunday mornings. So yeah, super looking forward to that, and as well as the new article series for league winners, and moving my goal line series to fantasy 6-pack. So I'm glad that Joe and I talked about that. He seems excited for the series and excited to work and showcase it to a whole new platform.
And in my audience, you can find me here. You can find me in the RPO network. You can find me in the IDP Center chat. And then you can find me on FantasyInFrames. Boy, Kyle, I'm going to tell you, we're going to get tired of doing all these announcements where we're at by the time this is said and done. We're pushing 3-4 podcasts a week. It's going to be fun. It's going to be rewarding because we can learn off each other. You bring your thoughts. I bring my thoughts. We'll make it work. We'll put it together like a great beef stew. We'll stew it up and see what happens. Okay.
You see, now I'm hungry, and I'm hungry for some fantasy football, but also for food.
All right. Well, I'm done stewing. We'll see you guys next week. You take care.